If you would open up your Bibles with me to Daniel chapter 6, we're only going to read really just a couple of verses, but let me go back and set the stage for you. How many of you, either growing up or maybe a Vacation Bible School as a kid or something like that, know the story of Daniel in the lion's den, right? You guys just sang about it, or one of the songs about it. There's lots of songs about it. The Vacation Bible School one is, with Daniel in the lion's den. Well, let me just back up and retell the story here a little bit. When we get to the end of chapter 5, as we looked at it last week, the Babylonian Empire has come to an end. Its final king, Belshazzar, is killed. It's kind of a fascinating story. In their pride and arrogance, they had constructed such an impressive fortified city that they thought there was possibly no way, even with mighty Cyrus knocking at the door, that they could be defeated. And so they actually had quite a feast and party and fell asleep in kind of a drunken stupor state. And while they were doing that, the Persians dammed up the river that goes through the city, and they actually crossed under the city walls where the river should have been on that dry land to come in and attack them at night, and slays the king of Babylon in his sleep. And so it was actually a relatively peaceful transition, if you will, as the Persians came and put an end to the Babylonian rule. You'll remember that Jeremiah had prophesied that the rule of Babylon and their exilic state would happen for about 70 years. And that's exactly where we are here. That 70-year period is done. God sends Cyrus, and he comes in during the night and literally vanquishes Babylon. And we are now under, as we begin in chapter 6, a new regime, a whole new empire, a new king, a new empire. We're now under Darius, who scholars debate as to whether or not Darius is a kind of a code name for Cyrus, or whether he's a regional monarch serving under Cyrus. We're not really sure about that, but it's definitely the Persian Empire at this point. And Daniel, who has risen to this high position previously under the Babylonians and sustained it through the course of his life, seems to have inherited that same position with the Persians. He is one of the top 3 people over now the massive Medo-Persian Empire. There are 3 primary administrators, Daniel being one of them. The other 2, we assume, are Persians and are none too happy that the third one in their triad is a Hebrew. And so they and kind of the administrators under them, called the satraps, they begin to set a trap to try to take down Daniel. What they find is Daniel's integrity is so impeccable, it's so above board, that there is nothing they can find in him or his record that would cause them to take him down. So they have to find a way to do that, and the only way they can do that is if they put Daniel's loyalty to his God and his government on a collision course with Cyrus and the Persian government. And so they kind of trick Darius into passing an edict or a decree that's going to put Daniel in that point of conflict, knowing that Daniel will choose his God and therefore cause him to be suffer the penalty of being thrown in the lion's den. It's interesting that the king doesn't seem to notice that of his 3 rulers for his entire empire, one is missing. He doesn't seem to pay attention to that or realize what this would do to Daniel and put him in a compromising position. And he's kind of tricked into it. And once he realizes what he's done, he seems to immediately regret it. But now, no king is above the law. He realizes he has to stick with it